Well, welcome to another episode of LorcanaChats. I am Chris, aka Questing for Lore, and with me today I have the dynamic duo, the two hosts of the Hakuna Lorcana podcast, Caleb and Katie. How you guys doing?
Doing
Good.
great. Happy to be here.
Awesome, awesome. Glad to have you. Thanks for thanks for sitting down and chatting with me for a little while. Why don't you start off? Just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself.
Katie, why don't you go
Oh,
first?
sure. So my name's Katie. I don't know where to start. I was born in England. No. So yeah, Disney fan. I think I'm the Disney adult that they write articles about, like the childless millennial that spends a lot of money going to Disney World. I'm like the poster child in that picture. Um, so yeah, I'm a big fan of Disney parks, travel, and games. And it's like they all came together into one big thing. So I'm sure we'll get into how we got to podcasting.
Oh
Um,
yes.
but yeah, so I'm into lots of pop culture nerd stuff, but for the sake of this podcast, I really like Disney.
Yeah.
So
And correct me if I'm wrong, but you actually worked there for a little while, didn't you?
I did the Disney College program, which they say if you want to find out who did the Disney College program, don't worry, they'll tell you because like it's one of those things that people always like. But yes, I did. I worked there in 2012, so a
Okay.
million years ago, and I worked at Disney Quest, which I'm very proud of that I worked for an extinct Disney attraction because, that makes it seem like I have more Disney on a street cred. So, so yeah, it
Now,
was fun.
for those of us not familiar, including myself, what was that?
Well, so it's this whole podcast. So you have an hour. So long story short is in Disney decided they want to do indoor theme parks and they started in two locations, one in Florida and one in Chicago. And it was like a five-story indoor theme park arcade situation. And so there was eight attractions inside and then tons and tons of stuff. So Chicago closed and then the one in Disney Springs closed, I want to say like in 2018 or something, maybe like
Hmm.
earlier than that. But they tore it down. It's gone. You can't even like see where it was. They built the NBA experience and now that's gone. So it's a cursed site. But
Yeah.
if you ever want to have somebody on to talk about that, I can do that for a
All
while.
right. All right. Cool. Well, thank you, Caleb. You want to give us a little bit about you?
Yeah, so I don't quite have the extensive history with Disney as Katie, which makes her a prime co-host for the show. But I grew up watching Disney movies, just loving all of it. Like some of the best family vacations we went on when I was in elementary and middle school were to either Disney World or Disneyland. So I do have those kind of core memories. I think the story goes that my mom told me is that she was able to teach me how to use the VCR before I was potty trained, so that I could rewind the Beauty and the Beast VHS on my own, so I didn't have to go find her to do it for me. So
Nice.
that's
Nice.
yeah, it goes way back. So yeah, just throughout my life, I've always had a fondness for Disney, and even though there was a good stretch of life, when you become a 15-year-old, you know boy and you're growing up and everything, you just kind of stop. But then I always had those kind of nostalgic feelings for Disney. Those never left. And even when I got into college, had some friends that were really into Disney, and they're saying that Tangled is like one of the best Disney movies ever. And I'm like, I haven't seen that. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. And so it finally came around during COVID, where Disney Plus had been out, or like just came out, and I was bored like everybody else. So I was like, okay, let's just do this. And I fell back in love. And I had also been involved with like board games throughout college and loved all that kind of stuff. Had a really deep obsession with fantasy football and like trying to optimize like that kind of stuff. So it's kind of like those things in my background that kind of led to this point of I found out about Lorcana, and like instantly it just like it clicked. I'd never really had the pull to another trading card game before, but
Hmm.
something about Lorcana just spoke to me, and since day one, I've been all in. So
Okay. All right. So you hadn't really played TCGs before this.
no, yeah, the only game of Magic I'd ever played was after I started playing Lorcana, and that was just so I could get the Magic guy to try to play some Lorcana with me, and that didn't really work out. So whatever.
Uh, their loss. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
How about you, Katie? Have you played any other TCGs or anything like that before?
Yeah, so I mean, in the 90s, I briefly played Pokemon, but did I play it or collect cards? It was more collecting cards because I was like,
Um,
it was that part of it. But then in around 2013, me and my husband would play Magic. He was a Magic player and he's like, play with me. And so he would do a lot of the heavy lifting, like the building the deck and stuff like
mhm.
that, because Magic is cumbersome. I don't know. Have you played Magic? It's
I did way back in the day, and then right before I really got into Lorcana, I was like, well, maybe I could get back into Magic, and I picked up one of the starter things, and I'm like, oh my God, I have no idea what's going on. I don't
yeah.
understand.
And it felt like a very taxing thing to keep up with it. And then even like a few times I'd buy like a commander deck or like one of like the ready to play decks.
Mhm.
Um, and it was rough. You'd pick up a card and there's like an essay and you're like, no. So
Yeah, it's like
so
pull. Yeah.
yeah. And I'd be like, how does this work? And my husband would be like, read the card. I was like, well, I'm gonna be here a while if I have to read the card. So
Especially every single one of them, right?
yeah, so there's a fluency that I think makes it hard to get into those kind of TCGs. Um, and that might be I mean, obviously it works for some people. It's not bad. It's just I don't have that attention span. So yeah, we stopped. I played like at Friday Night Magic. We went to a Grand Prix once, which is one of those kind of like challenge events, and it
Mm-hmm.
was I walked in and said no, thank you, and left because it was horrifying how many people were in there. But it's been different. That's the good news is that this experience it's been a lot different for me.
Well, good.
So
And y'all did pretty well at set championships, so I saw.
yes.
We
Yeah.
yeah, we both won a stitch. So that if that's what you mean, then yes,
Yeah.
that
Well,
felt really
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
able to pick mine up on the first weekend and then Katie got hers on the second weekend. I participated in four, Katie participated in three. And so I would say that there was quite a bit of a roller coaster experience with
Hmm.
expending that much energy. And I'd never done anything like that. So but overall it was a very good experience. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
He's modest. I'm proud of him. It was very exciting because yeah, it was like I think the Ursula's return card got revealed just yesterday, like the one for the challenge event. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so I saw it. I'm like, it turns out I wasn't super competitive. I just really wanted Rockstar Stitch because when I saw Ursula, I'm like, oh, okay, I don't need that. So it turns
Yeah.
out that's my motivating is if it's got Stitch on it, then I become a monster.
Nice.
So it's good to know themselves.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Are y'all planning on going to any of the DLCs?
yes, yeah, I want to go
Speaking
to
of
two
crazy
of them.
chaos.
Yes, exactly. Just adding it on even more. And yeah, today it was revealed what the side events are going to look like. And I started to think
Mm-hmm.
to myself, like, could I even get to Atlanta without a ticket just to play in some of these side events?
I know,
Because
right?
it looks like it's going to be a really fun time. I'm going to wait for some of them to come out west. Katie and I are in Colorado. And so uh, Fort Worth is for sure the one that I want to go to if there's anyone that I want to go to because my brother lives in the area. And then Vegas as well, pretty close by. But they were saying that there might be some more beyond the six. They might do a seventh or an eighth or something like that. And I feel like Denver would be a good spot for
Mm.
one. So if they do
Yeah,
one in Denver,
definitely.
then I'm for sure there. And, Katie and I haven't talked about this, but I'd love to do some sort of like Hakuna Lorcana meetup or something like that.
Yeah.
I've got connections in
Nice.
Denver, so that would be cool.
Nice. Yeah, definitely. That would be
Vegas
awesome.
sounds like the most fun one for me because, I've never been to Vegas. And it's like Disneyland, but for adults. A lot more drunk people probably. But that would be the one I'd go to. I don't know. It's interesting because I think we even said on our podcast, like, there's a chance that maybe tournaments aren't for you. And I don't know if I just need a cool down, but like right now I'm like, maybe I'll never do a tournament again. And I don't think that's gonna last. I think the refractory period is slowly going down.
Yep.
But yeah, I think maybe Vegas would be one because I think also that's the one that would be cheap just all around.
Hmm.
Probably. I don't know where it is. I don't know anything about it. So I probably should do some more research. But if I do one, that would probably be. Are you?
Vegas is also in September, right around my birthday. And
Oh
so
wow.
it won't be like, I don't know, Vegas, it's the desert and we're just coming off of summer, but it's still September. I don't know how hot it'll be in Vegas.
Probably
I
very.
know it's,
Very
I
hot
know it's
still.
going to be it's going to be the pits in Fort Worth in July. Goodness gracious. I'm
Yes.
not
Yeah.
looking forward to that. So
Well, good news, it's an indoor activity. So that's
Yes.
that's
That's
why we picked
true.
this, is we're indoor people. So are you
And
doing any?
y'all, yeah, I'm going to Atlanta. Yep.
Oh wow,
You
okay,
are going to
cool.
Atlanta. Oh,
I am.
congrats.
Yeah, yeah. I got in on the second round after the wait list was emailed after the first round. And it just happened that that I was going to be in Atlanta the week before for work stuff.
Oh wow.
I'm up in Northwest Montana, so it's not like
Mm,
it's, anywhere close by, but
Mountain
no.
time zone
I
unite.
yeah.
We are underrepresented.
It's a great one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, no, but I heard about the events. I was like, oh, cool, those challenges sound kind of fun, and then I started thinking, well, they're probably not going to have anyone anywhere close to where I am, maybe Seattle, something like that, which, as it
Mm-hmm.
turns out, they're going to do that. Um, but then I started looking at the dates and I was like, oh my gosh. So I like went on, I was like, how much longer can I extend my stay after,
Mm-hmm.
after I'm there? And it just kind of worked out. So I was pretty happy about that. But it's so I played in the set championships for this last one,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yep.
I have not played in any large events like that. So I'm not 100% sure what to expect,
Yeah.
Everybody says it's just going to be mass chaos and exhausting, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
How did set champs go for you?
They went okay. We were actually traveling that weekend, and so, I was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot it was this weekend." I didn't think I was going to play, because obviously we were out of town. But I found a game store one day, that Saturday, and I was like, "Oh, they're doing it here. Oh, I might as well give it a shot,"
Mm-hmm.
And so hopped in on their stuff. Of course, I didn't bring my deck with me,
Mm.
so I bought a starter deck and a booster box and tried to make what I could out of
Let's
those.
So
Yeah,
how'd that
that's
work
crazy.
out?
So,
I want to hear this. Tell this
10
story.
10th of 14.
I
So
mean, I think
not
that's
last
great.
place. So
But you
Yeah.
were first place in the people who built their deck the night before using a starter
this
deck
is
and a booster
true.
box. So
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
place in that
Yeah.
division.
I was still kind of tweaking it even that morning because
Yeah.
I think it started at like 10 or something. So yeah, I had them all spread out on the table and everything. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have no idea what I'm doing, but this seems okay.
So
So
did you go
yeah.
Ruby Sapphire or Emerald Amber?
It was, oh my gosh, what did I do? Amethyst.
Oh, was
Oh,
it Floodborn, Amethyst Steel?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was.
Okay.
Yeah, and it,
Okay.
it worked okay. I'm
You
usually an amber steel kind of guy, and so I kind of knew how to get the steel
Mm,
moving, but it's just different when you don't have the amber to back it up. So
yes.
it
Yeah.
worked okay, but not great, but it was fun,
Sure.
and the people at the store, it was so nice. Everybody was super nice. The people running the store were great. They were like, "Yeah, sure, come on in." It's not like I heard some stories about some stores where they were like, "No, you're not local," or "We don't know you.
Yeah.
You can't register." And it was like, "Okay, well, I'll just give it a shot. Go in."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was good
My
though.
sister.
It's
Oh,
Go
yeah.
ahead.
No, well, I was just gonna say my sister had a horror story where there was like a league in the town and they capped the registration at 12 people, but they didn't post about it online. And they were only gonna do 3 rounds. And after 3 rounds, they would take who is undefeated and then just draw names for the prizes. And, it caused some
What?
heartburn.
That sounds
Yeah, and it was on a
awful.
Yeah.
Friday night, so it started at like 6 o'clock. So yeah, so I
Oh,
think everybody, there's been a few game stores where people probably aren't going to have that be their favorite game store anymore. But events
yeah.
like that are good to kind of let you know what places are community based, which ones might be a little bit more, um, you know, under the table, not desirable. I'll put it that way, not desirable to be at.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thankfully, most people seem to have had a good
Yep.
experience with it.
Yes.
Yep. And you guys did you both do coaching? I think I saw Katie. I think you said you did. I didn't know if you did, Caleb.
Yeah, yeah, I did with Kendall Burnett. He was featured on the 40 Born podcast, so that's where I heard from him
Oh,
because he's an expert Ruby Amethyst player, and that's the deck that I was running when I won my Stitch. I had been playing Ruby Sapphire up to that point, did well with Ruby Amethyst during Rise of the Floodborn, and just my local meta did not feel like Ruby Sapphire was going to be favorable, so I switched back to Old Faithful, and then yeah, I did a coaching session with Kendall and learned some great stuff from him. So it didn't pan out with a Stitch in the second weekend for me, but it was still a worthwhile time. And you know, if you have the resources available, like I'll let Katie talk about her coaching experience, but it was definitely worth it for me.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, I'm a Amber Steel player. I feel like I can say that now. I've played it for 3 sets, so that feels like I've earned my badge of honor on it. But I think you said you play Amber Steel too, right?
I do.
So like I think the benefit of Amber Steel is it's such an adaptable deck to so many situations. But because of that, there's so many decisions you have to make back to back over and over. And every deck obviously has decisions, but I just feel like a mid-range deck can just be it's really a piloting problem sometimes because you have to
Yeah.
just know
Yeah.
what's the right move. And I don't want to like overstate like, oh well, my deck's very hard because that's not the case, but it's just it can be finicky when you're mid-range.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I reached out to Zach Bivens. Um, and it was really nice to do because I think you get tunnel. I won't speak for everyone, but it can be easy to get tunnel vision with anything you do, any hobby. You're like, this is what I do, this is what I play. So it's kind of nice to have like we played a few matches and he's like, well, what would you do? Why would you do that? And there's kind of talking through it, and then well, this is why I would do this. And it made me just play a little differently.
Mhm.
I got third place. I mean, I think I think there's obviously we can talk about how like meta can play into it, but I think coaching at least gives you that background of seeing your deck differently than you probably did before. And at the
Mhm.
very least, you get to ask targeted questions to another person. So like at the bare bones, you're talking to another person about your deck versus, YouTube videos. You can't ask targeted questions. And it's
Right.
kind of like an interactive YouTube video, but you can think about that way.
Nice. Yeah, I thought about doing that for the DLC, but kind of ran out of time. So
Well, I did like
maybe next
emergency.
time.
I was like, Zach, do you have any time this week? And he's like, yeah, Wednesday. I'm like, good. Because, yeah, so I mean, apparently you can do an emergency house call. I can
Yeah.
speak for
Yeah.
them. So you just have to seem panicked.
Yeah.
I think I said I have having a crisis, an internal crisis. And I was like, I need help. So he opened his schedule for me to book one. So
Nice. Nice. Well, glad it worked out.
yeah, it was very exciting. It's good to have a deck where you feel like you have a little ownership of it. I think that's kind of fun.
Hmm.
When you hear, like in sports, you have positions and things like that. And in Lorcana, you're like, oh, you know, I'm a this player. And I think that's very fun.
Yep. Yep. Well, cool. So I want to talk about the podcast. The reason we're here. No, the reason we're here
Yeah.
is because of y'all. All right. So the podcast. Why did you guys start it up? I'm curious.
Okay, look can start because he's the brains behind the inception.
My brains played some fraction of the story, I guess. So I guess I was the one that came up with the idea, and I had the idea of for several months before I came to Katie. So I never played a TCG before, but I got into Lorcana and was playing at the LGS that we play at together and having a super fun time with it. Kind of took a lot of my obsessive habits from fantasy football into this, which meant looking up all of the podcasts, looking up all of the YouTubers, getting on Twitter, following all the people that are posting deck lists and all that kind of stuff, and just following, figuring out what is the meta, what does it look like to be good at Lorcana, all of this. And but not only the competitive side, but also the casual side and community oriented things as well. And I loved all sides of it. And so, there are a few shows I'd say like Live Laugh Lorcana from the beginning was
Mhm.
an instant listen for me. 40 Born, I've loved that show from the beginning. Citizens of Lorcana, Forbidden Mountain, like there's Podcana, there's so many of these other shows that I'm like, I really like what these folks are doing. I have like a specific background with Disney and with this card game. And I feel like I have something that just this idea of the fact that I love this game because of the movies, like
Yep.
because I have this history with Disney through the movies specifically. And I don't know. It felt like almost all of the content being made was from the TCG perspective,
Mhm.
whether it was casual or competitive, which is uh, kind of self-evident. Like there's nothing wrong with that at all. I just felt like, oh, there's a gap here. And I think it's something that I could fill. And so I started thinking for a while, like, man, I'd like to be a content creator. I'd like to talk about the movies and then talk about the cards related to the movies. But I was like, I don't want to do it alone. And I want a co-host that can work with me, like specifically a female that I think we would have good chemistry together. And, we could kind of amplify each other's voices and uh, kind of demonstrate positivity into the community as well. Like that's kind of something that Katie and I are pretty resolved. Like even if we have negative feelings about this thing or that thing, like we're not going to spend a lot of time on it. We want to spend more of our time just talking about the things that do kind of spark joy inside of us when it comes to this game and Disney in general. So I approached Katie. It was like early February or something like that,
Mhm.
and uh, I'll let her take it away from there.
And then I said yes. No, so Caleb walked into a trap because he was like, "Oh yeah, this is my idea," and I'm like, "Well," and then so then I was like, I almost showed a resume. I'm like, "Well, I've been to Disney World this many times," and he's like, "Okay, I didn't." He's like, "I already offered." So, and I've watched Disney content for years, but it's always parks based. So like
Mhm.
things like Ordinary Adventures and Tim Tracker. I always love those videos, but as anybody that might see those spaces, it's a very saturated area. So it's very
Yeah.
hard to be like, I want to talk about Disney. And everyone's like, yeah, we all do. So it was kind of cool to find a space where, it's interesting that there are people that play the game. And I mean, Disney elitists can giggle when you're playing against somebody like, and I play hi hi. And you're like, this guy doesn't know hey hey. So there is people out there that are excited about the game, but maybe have that kind of gap. So I was super excited about the idea of sharing information, sharing that excitement, because I'm definitely one of those people that I'm always going, well, did you know? And people are like, oh God. So this is a place where they want that. They clicked it. So they're looking for that part of my personality. Um, and I think it's very cool. It was exciting that Caleb mentioned that because it can sound like, well, I was looking for a girl to co-host, but I think that's important because sometimes communities, it's getting better, obviously, and I think Lorcana
Mhm.
has been leaps and bounds better than 10 years ago when I did Magic. But it's a room where you walk in and you see people, a diverse group of people, age-wise, gender, everything, and that's very exciting. And exciting that that diversity is also represented in the content creation community. I think it's been very encouraging, and I think, cool to see people have a level of confidence due to just already seeing people that look like them succeeding. I think that can help a lot. A cool a shout out I helped. I was on an episode with the Illuminateers. Aaron featured 3 women who got first place, and
Mhm.
it's just so cool. It's really cool to see people enjoying it, talking about it. People who like TCGs, people like Disney, and then we're in the middle. We're right there trying to kind of make that bridge so that people can kind of have both sides of the coin.
Yeah, yeah. And I have to admit, I love that you guys are not there, like you were saying, Caleb, there's so many of them out there that are like, here's this cool combo, or I played this deck, and, getting into the real technical stuff. But I love that you guys are, you kind of keep it a little more light. The focus isn't so much on the technical. I mean, it's still focused on the game, obviously, but I love let's talk about a movie and then let's talk about the cards that relate to it.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
trivia nerd inside of me loves all the little fun facts and stuff. I think that was that was one of the first things when I listened to, I think I started with the episode 0 even.
Hmm.
But when I started listening, I was like, oh, this is great. I love this, And then of course, afterwards, I'm doing research on the movie and I'm like, oh
Yes.
Yes,
yeah.
it's working. It's
Yeah.
working.
Yeah, next week, I think I even say like, hey, I need you to set an hour because we're covering a topic where I'm like, you're going to want to do research. I just know after I say what I say, people are going to want to see what I'm talking about. So I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
it scratches an itch of people who are, and I think TCG people are naturally people who are information hungry people. Because I mean,
Hmm.
it's a game where you learn it once, but it changes every 3 months. So it's a naturally curious type of person that I think comes to a TCG.
Yeah,
Uh, um,
definitely. And blew past 1,000 downloads recently, didn't you?
Yeah, we don't know if that's good or not, but it was exciting. My mom is like, "Was that good?" I'm like, "I don't know, but it feels good." So, yeah,
Well,
so
you're
yeah.
only 7 or 8 episodes in. I
Yeah,
kind of forget
8.
now. Eight,
I think
yeah.
8 if you count. Yeah, we did a little 8 or 9. It's complicated. There's bonus episodes, but 8 weeks.
Oh yeah, the Friday episodes. Yeah, those are
Yeah,
great. Why did y'all decide to start doing those?
because we have a lot to say. So that's a short version. Is there's so many other things because I mean, gosh, we like the movies. I mean, I like movies, but there's also the technical stuff we want to talk about sometimes too.
Right.
Um, there are things like for example, we did one about what to expect for your first tournament because
Mhm.
people might not know that, it's an all day thing. You want to pack water. It's not going to be like a league night. It's a very different environment. We did another one where we've done a couple where we have people from the community talk about a movie that they like. So it'll be kind of like a piggyback episode. So really, it's just a space for us to do the things that we want to do that might not fit in our normal mold. But Caleb, do you have any other reasons that you like the bonus feature Friday?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have to do like 2.5 hours of research,
Yes, that's
but
the other part. Yeah.
before
Yep,
a
yep.
bonus feature Friday, we just kind of sit down and do an interview. Yeah, our second interview is releasing tomorrow with Jake from 40 Born, so we're excited for that. Or, we'll talk about just our experiences, and so um that's one of the things, but there are just so many dimensions, and we've kind of made the foundation of the show like a pretty narrow thing, and
Hmm.
we're never going to lose that, but there are just like so many facets to the game and to the community, and so we kind of wanted to create a space that allowed us to explore whatever we wanted to.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, the research part, it's like I'm done with school. I finished, I got my bachelor's, I got my master's, and I'm like, but I'm still doing book reports. So I forgot that is part of making content is the preparation. So it is nice,
Yeah.
yeah, to have an episode where we're like, let's just talk, and it's thrilling. It's thrilling to just talk without
Very
worrying about.
freeing, I'm sure.
It is. So
Yeah.
it's a nice outlet to be creative without because I love doing the research, but it takes time.
Yep. Yep. Oh yeah. I that was actually going to be one of my questions for you. On average, like 2.5 hours, would you say?
Yeah, Katie, I don't know what you want. What number would you say? We haven't even discussed how much research we each put into it.
Well, I like to do like the power option where I put on the movie and then do the research at the same time. So I'm absorbing, I'm looking because I mean most of them I've seen before. I didn't do that with Snow White because Snow White I had to like watch it for the first time. But I would say 2 hours now because yeah,
Mm.
I always want to kind of look at a couple different sources because I mean ultimately you want to give something that somebody might not know.
Mhm.
So yeah, I would say 2 hours, give or take an hour, depending on well, not take, it's usually give. It's not usually not less than 2 hours. But what about you, Caleb?
Yeah, I'd say that 2.5 is kind of where I'm at. Yeah, 2 to 3
Yeah.
hours. There's kind of the, you know, discovery phase where I'm literally just Googling and putting stuff into YouTube and like seeing what other people have said about the movies, and then kind of narrowing it down from there of like what is interesting. I've found a pretty steady pattern so far of like how did the movie come about, like kind of
Hmm.
the prehistory, and then something interesting about the movie itself within the movie, and then kind of
Mhm.
reception or the legacy or aftermath of the movie. And that, that's kind of a decent structure to kind of do the three fun facts, but it can be kind of narrow. And so for some of these older movies like Sword in the Stone or Snow White, that definitely makes a lot of sense. But for some of these newer ones, I think Katie does a tremendous job of like finding these deep cut things that I probably would have overlooked had I done the research for that movie. So even in our research styles, we kind of bring something different to the table, which is fun.
Yeah, I tend to focus I get stuck on anything tied to theme parks. That always comes back where I'm like, and then the theme park, it's gonna get in there no matter what. So
Which is
that's
so awesome. I don't know, like I love that.
Yeah, because I think one of the reasons that Lurkana is fun is you get to interact with a movie. I think a lot of times media can be passive, and theme parks, much like card games, is a way to be a part of those characters, to interact with
Mhm.
them in ways that you don't get to as just a consumer. So I think for me, that's why I love the game and why I love theme parks, is because you're like, I love Tangled and now I get to go to the Tangled bathrooms. Like, how fun is that?
Dare I ask, where are the Tangled bathrooms?
Well, this comes up on an episode coming up, but they are my
Okay.
family's favorite bathroom. So they did like a Fantasyland expansion back in, I want to say, started in like 2010, and Tangled had come out, and people are like, I love it. And they're like, we're gonna put Tangled in the theme park. And I'm like, what is it? And they're like, a bathroom, a highly themed bathroom. And they're really great bathrooms. They got like hidden Pascals. The Pascals are on the outside. The inside's a pretty business centered bathroom, but the outside, it's a very fun place, and they have like wanted posters, they have music, they have phone chargers. It's a really great bathroom. So
Oh,
I highly
all right.
recommend, if you're in the Magic Kingdom, to try it out.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. You get good recommendations like that from me.
Good bathroom recommendations.
I got many more. So
Nice. Well, okay, so you guys put a lot of work into this podcast, and it's great. I love it, and I highly recommend, if anybody watching this doesn't listen to it, I recommend that you go download like all the episodes and listen to them, binge them before the next one comes out.
thank you.
Uh, yeah.
Yes.
So if you guys had any advice for people that were wanting to get into the whole content creation game, what would be just like one key piece of advice?
I mean, I think for me, so I don't want to be like brag, but like I have like a business background. And so for me, something that was super important to me was branding.
Mhm.
Because I think sometimes the internet's a very big place and Lorcana is already a brand. So you have to find somewhere between the entire internet and Lorcana where it's already an established brand. So where do you fit there? How are you unique? What's your voice compared to other people's? Tone, the brand. Like, we very early on were like, we got to get our logo out there, which I know sounds very corporate, but I think having something that people see and then they associate with, when they hear things with your name attached to it, they're going to see, the general same attitude, general same vibes. Because even in our episodes where we're talking about, maybe not necessarily Lorcana directly, it's always going to be kind of a similar tone, similar kind of approach. So to me, I think branding is something to think about, because it's
Mhm.
really going to, at the end of the day, marry together all the things you're excited about into a way where people can remember it. We're not like a success story yet. We're doing good, but so I don't want to be like, this is how you get the best podcast. But I would just say for me, that was something that I think helped, because then people saw our name and our brand, and I think it's already kind of established only a month and a half in.
Oh
So
yeah.
I think that'd be my advice. Caleb, do you have?
Yeah, it's been a wild ride since we kind of launched. There's just kind of that anticipatory time where you have the idea, you're working on it. Katie and I were texting a ton, and just she started using Canva, and so she would send me the logo and this. But all of this is behind the scenes. No one's seeing the work being done. And for me, there's just kind of like that, okay, we're doing something, but we're not really. It's not until we like actually hit record and then edit the episode and then hit publish that it's like, okay, now this thing is live. So I would just say like um, start somewhere, you start with an idea and see it through, just keep going, keep at it, get feedback, get someone that you can talk to about it. Like if you've never done anything like this is both Katie and I's first experience as content creators. And so being able to like just ask questions back and forth to each other. Now, if you have more of a content creator background, then you're probably going to have, the jitters and like the uncertainty might not be there. But if it is your first time and you're thinking about it, it's good to have somebody to try to chat with and ask questions about. And then to that end, when it comes to the week to week grind of getting an episode out, getting a YouTube video out, interacting with people on Twitter, all of these sorts of things, like a putting something out there finished is better than perfect. I think is
Yep.
kind of the phrase that I've heard thrown
Mhm.
around, right? And so even if I would have liked to have had my Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs research a little bit more refined and a little bit more rehearsed, we got our episode out on the day it was scheduled, and
Yep.
and
Yep.
that's uh the lion's share of the battle, so to say. So, um, yeah, be consistent. And then something that both Katie and I have been very intent on is just being appreciative and thankful and practicing gratitude with our audience and with our listeners. We do these giveaways, and Katie got this nice stationery, and we had this idea to get a stamp, and we write notes to people that we send the stickers to, and I'm intentional on Twitter to tell people thank you for listening to the show and for the questions they submit and all this kind of stuff. And uh, like, don't take your audience for granted. Like, it's a community
Yep.
for a reason. And so, Chris, thank you for listening to the show.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
we appreciate it, and it's an honor to be on your show. And yeah, I think just like in the world that we live in today, like gratitude is a premium commodity that doesn't actually cost us anything.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
just something that we have to choose to give.
Yep.
Yeah. I think, yeah, it's been very cool because I think it's a very warm and inviting community. But
Yeah.
stickers
Oh
help.
yeah.
Everybody likes a sticker. So I
Yeah.
think that's our other thing. Is we're
Yeah.
like, you want a sticker? And that will that make so I think the last thing that when Kayla was talking, I would also be prepared to learn like a lot over and over again. Cause like every time we're like, let's do this thing. And you're like, oh, so you have to learn all these softwares and
Yep.
things like where I'm like, how do you do a video? And it's like you think all these things, we're decades into the age of YouTube and I still didn't know how to do that. And I'm still not so great. But yeah, I think when you decide you want to make content, just get ready to learn and keep learning and be nice, like Caleb said, because usually if you're nice, people are happy to help.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And the community, it just seems like there's a lot of, just open sharing, and everybody's, pretty
Hmm.
nice to each other in general. I mean, I know there's,
Yeah.
with any community there's going to be problems, but
Hmm.
it seems like on the whole, most of the folks are pretty nice people,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
pretty willing to help out. Or I had it's a couple of weeks ago, I guess, I realized that I was missing a single card that I would needed to play in Atlanta, and I mentioned it on Twitter. And like within 30 seconds, like five people were like, "Hey, I'm coming to Atlanta. Maybe you can borrow it from me while we're there." And I was like, that would be awesome. I have no idea who you are, but that's great, and just
Yeah.
random people. It's so cool how open and kind of giving the community is. So,
Yeah. Yeah,
oh, go ahead.
I can attest to that. I I didn't tell this part of the story, but so my husband was military, he just got out, and so we moved around a lot. And so I have no friends. So that's the end result. If you move around a lot as an adult, that happens. And so Lorcana, once I started playing, I was like, I'm gonna go to League. That's gonna be my challenge to myself. So I'm gonna go there. And then now I have a podcast. And things happen between there, but it's because everybody's nice. I mean, when I was there, I was having quite the internal panic. I felt like a little
Mm.
kid. I felt like I was going to go eat lunch in the bathroom. I was very nervous, and someone came up to me and said, "Hey, do you want to play a match against me?" And that person's my friend, and they were all my friends. And I think that's to anyone listening that is possibly hesitant about joining a local community, I think you will be surprised about how easy it is. Because I think that the nature of a game store is someone's there because they want to play a game with another person. So that first
Hmm.
step of trying to find somebody who's interested in what you're interested in and willing to do it with you, that's done. You just have to show up. So I think that's the cool thing about Lorcana and games like this is it's a great platform to find people like you.
Yeah. No, it's been a blast so far. I and it's funny how many people I talk to that, this is their first TCG, and a lot of them their
Mm-hmm.
first kind of like game like this. They
Mm-hmm.
play board games or, stuff that's a little bit different style in the past. But, there's a lot of people that are like, yeah, this is my first time. I'm loving it. And it's not, it's not just because of the game, it's because of everybody around it as well. There's just so much. Well, there's so much content for one thing. There's entirely too many things to listen to and keep up with. And um, it's just great. I mean, I really enjoy being a part of this community. And getting to talk with other great community members too is always nice.
Yeah, and there's so many ways to enjoy it. I think that's the other fun thing is you have your collectors or people who are like, I just want to collect all. Like I was in a store and someone's like, oh, I already bought all the princesses because that's what she likes. She likes to collect princess cards. And then
Mhm.
people who are just, I want to build decks. People who want to be a tournament champion. And there's no wrong way to enjoy it. The only wrong way is if you're yucking someone's yum. Then I think that's the wrong way. But otherwise, I think it's cool that there's so many ways to enjoy it, whether it's full tilt or just casually.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's kind of something that we're resolved to just kind of amplify, I think, is if you want to win Atlanta, if you want to win Continentals, and if you want to win Worlds, like, and that's how you want to experience Lorcana, you should be able to experience it that way. Now, typically the people that want to experience it that way don't need to be told that they are allowed to.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
usually the ones that are already out there kind of taking the bull by the horn, so to say. But people who are more casually bent, like I think sometimes need to be reminded that there are the really try hard people, and like that's fine. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's a
Oh
cool
yeah.
way to engage with the game. But those people also need to be reminded that maybe somebody just wants to play a princess deck, and they like best of one, and you know and that's how they want to play the game, and they mainly want to play on the kitchen table, and so think what limited versus constructed, like all of these things. There's so many different great ways to play this game, and we my hope is that people have been able to find spaces where they can play the game the way that they want to. And if you're someone out there that hasn't been able to find that, try to find people that do have cards, and kind of take that step and advocate for yourself and say, like, I want to try to play it this way. I want to get better so that I can win an Ursula promo for the next set championship, and see if the people around you will rally around you to help you get to that end. Or if you're like, man, I just really need to play some relaxing games because, I have this Lion King, Lilo and Stitch deck that I really want to try out. Then, ask the people around you. And I'm sure that there will be people that are like, yeah, like, let's do it that way. Why not?
Yep.
So, yeah, there's a space for you. If there's a thing about the card game that you like, there's a space for you for sure.
Yep. Definitely. So speaking of the future and set championships in the future, we just got a ton of new stuff for set four,
Yeah.
including the challenge card,
Yes.
Mhm.
which is interesting. It's a nice looking card. I mean, I don't
I
usually play
know.
that kind of stuff, so
Yeah.
Are you talking about the Ursula for set championships?
yeah, yeah, that they
Okay. Okay.
revealed that along with everything else yesterday. It seems like
Yeah.
it's like 30 cards or something all at
I think there's
once.
still some enchanteds left. I think they revealed one this morning, Ariel, right? Or is that this morning? It's all blending
And
in.
and
Uh,
Anna, they revealed Anna
That's
Anna,
this
true.
morning
yeah,
as
that's
But I
well.
think
right.
there's two,
It's
three. I don't know.
the
I think
204
there's
cards have been revealed at this
Yes,
point.
yeah, the core
yeah,
part, yeah.
Yeah.
right. And I think there's an amber that's still left for the enchanted, maybe. I don't
Yeah,
know.
there's a
I can't
few.
keep track.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, it was were either of y'all in the Discord yesterday? Yeah, that
I was at
was
I
the
was.
dentist. I was at the dentist,
it
so
was
Oh,
I was having.
insane.
I
both
know. Well, it
places
was
sound somewhat miserable.
no.
Yeah.
Well, it was like I looked at the Discord. I'm like, ah. It was like pictures, pictures, pictures. So it was exciting. I scrolled through after. It was thrilling and
Yeah.
exciting, but also overwhelming because there's always that part before set comes out where you're like, I'll never be able to handle it, and then you will. It's gonna be fine. But
Yep. Yep. Yeah, there's some really cool stuff. I'm happy that the Madrigals made it in there. That's one of
mhm.
my favorites.
Yes,
So
yes.
I've already been plotting on a deck. We'll see how it turns out. I know the starter deck includes a lot of them, but I have
Yeah,
other plans. So we'll see how that
Yeah.
goes.
yeah.
But
Brooms. The broom
Brooms.
brooms,
meta is
yeah,
here. We got
yeah,
our one drop broom. Let's
yep.
go. I want to see that amethyst steel deck.
It's gonna be something. I mean, I even like a dwarf deck, I laugh at it, but those decks can surprise you. I think
Hmm.
Lorcana is kind of fun that there's like any deck can technically be competitive in the right situation. Um, but Yeah, the brooms cracked me up because the first set I was like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if there's a bunch of brooms? There were a bunch of brooms. That
Yeah.
so spoiler
Ryan Miller
alert.
and Steve Warner were like, you have no idea.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's funny because this power says you can do stuff with brooms, but there's only one broom, and they're like, oh, there's a whole closet full of them, and
Yeah.
Just wait and see. Yep.
Yeah.
exactly.
Nice. So are there any particular like movies or shows or characters that you guys would love to see in some of the future sets?
It's weird that Chip and Dale isn't there yet. I just want to know,
Yeah.
like, it's weird that we have 40 Jafars, but Chip and Dale, I'm like, where are you? So
I mean,
that's just a personal concern at this point. Because I'm like, are they busy? But mine is I have a dream. It's a big one that we have parks over. I know I'm like beating the parks drum quite a bit, but I think there's so many cool mascots. I think like it could start. I already have an idea. And now it's in the area. So now people know I came up with it, but it could be kind of like Into the Inklings, but it's like the Lost Inklings, and the leader of
Mhm.
it is Oswald, the Lucky Rabbit. So everybody knows who Oswald is, I'm sure. But if you don't, he's the precursor to Mickey Mouse, the failed Mickey Mouse that was stolen. So that'd be so cool. And then he could introduce you to be like, oh, we're gonna go to Tokyo, or not, maybe not Tokyo, but wherever Duffy lives. And then we could also have Imagination Land with Figment, and I think it could be
Mhm.
very cool. Orange Bird, all of it. It could be very cool. And I think there is a lot of people who like Disney parks that would like Lorcana if they knew about it. And right now, you can get it in Disney Springs, and that's downtown Disney in California, and then sometimes at pin stores. And I just think, come on, we can do it. So that's my dream.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready. But Caleb, what's your dream?
Yeah. Well, Lion King is my movie.
Mhm.
So Lion King has gotten some good representation in the game. In fact, we have all 204 from Ursula's Return, and I think zero Lion King. I think this is the first one. Um,
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
it's
you're
weird though.
right.
Nothing's
Yeah.
coming to mind. So
But there's Simbas that they've made. I cannot tell them. Like there's so many Simbas and Mufasas to the point where if you line them up, I'm like, I don't know,
yeah,
because they haven't
yeah,
made like any remarkable like. Well, I guess Mufasa. He was a very big
Right.
one.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Mufasa has his own deck archetype, so that's kind of cool.
Mhm.
Legendary Scar as well.
That's true.
Great card. The
Mhm.
Simbas though are Cub Simbas are doing fine. One drop steel,
That's
two
true.
drop
Yep.
bodyguard. Even the aggro two drop Scrappy Cub and Ruby with the three lore fine card. I'd love like an obviously playable adult Simba. That would be great. We still need a Floodborn Simba. Still waiting on that. But a character that I've kind of talked about for a little bit that I really want to see is Nala. Um, I think that we have the one Cub Nala and Steel right now, and I think Steel slash Ruby makes a lot of sense for Nala. So would love to see more of her. Um, as far as like movie representation, and this is a movie that I've heard Katie bring up before, but there's a very prominent well, I guess there's two 90s, like 90s Disney to me is just like the peak of
Mhm.
the mountain, right? And there's
Yep.
kind of two movies from that decade that have been left out so far, Hunchback of Notre Dame and Pocahontas.
Mhm.
I think it's honestly not too shocking to me that those movies
Yeah.
have been left out so far. There's clearly historical, some historically problematic things about maybe including them, but I hope they get that figured out because I would really love to see them. I guess also Tarzan has been left out completely, and that's a 90s Disney
Yep.
movie as well. So I'd love to see all of those movies represented. I do think it is an atrocity that Mushu is not in the game so
It's kind of
far.
funny at this point. Like
Yeah,
now it's kind of
Yeah.
it's
now
kind of a
it's like
gag.
I
Yeah.
like it that there's like Great Stone Dragon. Literally her
Yeah.
mom,
Yeah.
Ulan's mom that nobody knew the name of. It's like, well, she's here. And not
Yeah,
Mushu.
but no Mushu. So I'm wondering what the hang up there is because clearly, I mean, Mushu's got to be one of the most iconic like sidekicks in all of Disney films. So I'm
Mhm.
just wondering what's going on there.
Well, maybe like it's a Chip and Dale Mushu deck. And like they're like, well, the next set's
Yeah.
only Mushu and Chip and Dale. And so that's
Yeah.
why they're saving it.
I mean,
Could be
Chip and
like,
Dale are such classic characters. They go back so far, and then they have their
Yeah.
iconic 80s into the 90s TV show as well. Like, yeah, I agree with you, Katie. They really need to get Chip and Dale in there.
Yeah, that's why I think they're cooking something that we can't even imagine. That's gonna come out. We'll be
Yeah.
like, well, that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
We're going into the forest with Chippendale, and it's 204 Chippendale related cards.
That
Maybe
would
one
be a
broom.
lot of chipmunks. Instead of
Yeah,
puppies,
Yeah.
it would be chipmunks.
yeah, right. I
Yeah.
have a
Maybe they'll
chipmunk.
do like Chippendale and Bambi and Fox and the Hound. Like,
That could be cute.
it's
Yeah,
just like
yeah.
the forest overload set or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the Hunchback of Notre Dame, I think that one seems the most feasible because, but then it's
Yes.
like, I don't know, like, does Victor Hugo still own right? Like, has he have, is it copyright? I don't really know. Cause yeah, I guess that's the issue with Tarzan, I think, is that
Yep.
it's got some licensing things, but I'm like, I think Victor Hugo. I don't know. So it'd be cool. Everybody wants a Frollo card. They don't know it, but they do. They want it.
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually hadn't seen that movie like when it first came out. I never watched it. And then, I started out, of course, starting up with Lorcana. I was like, "Oh, back into Disney full steam." And I was like, "Okay, so I haven't seen Hunchback of Notre Dame. I haven't seen Atlantis. What was the other one? There was one or two other ones." And I
hmm
started, going back and watching them. I'm like, "These are great. Why did I never watch them before?"
Oh,
I'm
so
excited for that episode because I got to know how and why Hunchback got made because it is a hot topic, or it's like a very kind of crazy kids movie. It's not
Hmm.
anything related to kids. It's like, oh yeah, a church official, a policeman, and um a, a
a
gypsy
gypsy
woman,
woman
and I'm
and
like,
a
yeah,
severely
Yeah.
handicapped man, like
yeah,
that's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that's what the whole movie revolves around. It's like,
yeah.
Yeah.
that's kind of crazy.
It is. It's a very crazy movie and I love it. It's great. But yeah, I don't think, yeah, I want to see what that's about. So I'm excited to research that. And I can't until I make cards. So
Well, cool. Well, thank you both for sitting down and talking with me. I appreciate it so much. I love getting to talk to other creators and just finding out all about them. That's, why I started this
mm,
show. Um, I'll finish out with the same questions that I ask everybody. What is your favorite ink and card right now?
okay. Um, I think I think I'm an well, oh gosh, it's between Amber and Amethyst. I think Amethyst is so fun. But Amber, I always go back to it. There's been so many iconic cards that I love in it. Because I like Rockstar Stitch. I know that's like a terrible answer, right? Because it doesn't everybody, but it's such a wonderful card. I love a card that looks good, performs well. Yeah, that if it does both, that's great. I mean, that's top of the mountain for me. So that's me. It's a basic answer, but I stand by it.
Nice.
Um, it's hard to say. I I have an answer for favorite ink, and it's because it's the ink that I keep playing. I just don't feel right saying it. And that's Ruby.
Yeah, it's a bad one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Katie
Yeah.
Katie knew it. She knew that that was the one I was gonna
Yeah,
say.
it's your home base.
And yeah, it's just the one between Ruby Amethyst and then Ruby Sapphire. Like there's just something about the control element that I like. And we're getting some really nice control cards in this new set.
Mhm.
Brawl. I'm really looking forward to that. Be King Undisputed. The new Sisu cards are super great. So there's just something about that resonates with me, and part of me feels bad about it. Part of me has kind of grown up to dislike the color red as like a Colorado sports fan.
Right,
So like
right.
all my arch rivals have red in them, and I was kind of like taught not to like red, but that's what I'm playing in Lorcana. So um yeah, I guess the Ruby card that what's the Ruby card that I like right now?
No matter what you say, it's going to be a card that other people are like, I hate that card.
Yeah,
So that's the downside with
Yeah.
Ruby.
everybody's
Yeah.
gonna hate the card. I'll say Maui. I'll say
Oh,
Maui.
yep. See, I hate that card. He's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a good one
yeah,
though. Yeah.
It is
yeah.
great. Yeah.
That card is busted. I mean, I think Ryan Miller even said in an interview that he like intentionally designed that card to be a little unfair, and like every ink color kind of has a few cards that are like a little bit more powerful than all the rest. Like the fact that
Mhm.
Maui's inkable is just like, how is he 6'5" with Rush and inkable? Like, it just doesn't make sense.
You're welcome, is what he
Yeah,
says.
yeah.
Yeah. I have to say, this is probably the only game I know where, speaking of Ruby, where when someone says the words "be prepared," everyone cringes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's
Yep.
like there's that one card, and it never fails. Every time I talk to somebody, somehow that phrase comes up, and it's just like, PTSD flashbacks
Ugh.
of,
Yeah.
board wipes and stuff. Yeah.
I think the
Yeah.
therapy is you need to play it because I think I was the number one hater of control decks. I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'll never. Yep.
Oh,
Got you
I was
covered.
like, I'll never ever concede because that's your fault for playing control, and I'm gonna make you play till the end. I was like spiteful, but then I played Ruby Amethyst. I was like, I get it now.
yeah.
So I think you just have to
Yep.
try it, and then you're like, it's it's a thing, and it's not
I will
unbeatable.
I will say to Katie's point, if you're one of those people that think that Be Prepared is an awful card and it's rude. That's
It is.
I made a
Yeah. Yeah.
post the other day about posting rude cards, and I do think that Be Prepared is a rude card, that is for sure. But I would encourage anyone, if you haven't ever played with it, to actually play with it, because then you'll kind of get why people play it. I think,
Yeah.
Hmm.
just with the tempo reset that it provides. And then when it gets played on you, you're kind of like, okay, I know why they're doing this to me, at least.
All right. Respect. Yeah, I
Yeah.
Yeah,
get it.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. All right. Next question. And Caleb, I think I know your answer for this one, but
Okay.
favorite Disney film?
Yes. So favorite Disney film, I'm gonna say Lion King. That's what I said in episode 0, and that's what we kind of branded the podcast after. Um, Simba is just an inspiring character to me. Nala and Mufasa, Timon and Pumbaa, Scar as a classic villain.
Mhm.
There's just so much working for that movie that goes so far. The music is amazing. But I also have to bring up Beauty and the Beast. It's like a 1A and a 1B for me. I love Beauty and the Beast so much. Again, Beast is kind of that male protagonist that resonates with me. Belle is tier 0 princess in my mind, and she's alone in that tier. I don't know if that triggers anybody, but she's the princess for me, and just a tremendous story and tremendous characters, great music as well, great songs and everything about it. So those are my movies.
So, which version of Beauty and the Beast is your pick?
Great question, both for Beauty and the Beast and for Lion. I'm a classics kind of guy, so I'm going for the 1991 Beauty and the Beast and the 1994 Lion King. I do like the live action remakes for
Mhm.
sure. Yeah, I cried at the opening sequence of 2019 Lion King, just hearing the Circle of Life song, and
Yeah.
so still a tremendous movie. But there's something about the traditional animation with the facial expressions and everything that
Mhm.
do a lot of work that I think the live action remakes kind of fall flat on.
Yep. All
Well,
right.
one day we could do a debate and we could talk about because I'm a live action hater. It's a hot take, so
Okay,
we can do
okay,
which one's better, but I won't say why. We'll save it for a bonus episode.
okay, okay.
But I won't say what everyone's thinking I'm gonna say Lilo and Stitch. I'm not because I'm gonna say one that could make the top three but didn't. And it's out of left field, and we're never gonna see it in Lorcana, and that is the Muppet Christmas Carol. It's a Christmas movie. It's out, yeah, it's
Oh,
completely out of there,
nice.
but it's technically not Disney spiritually, but it is now. Legally, it's a Disney movie.
Right.
I love the Muppets. I think they're wonderful, and I love that Disney and the Muppet people, that Jim Henson studio, at least every 5 to 10 years, they're like, we're gonna try again. And I love the gumption of the Muppets that they never give
Yep.
up. They're always trying to have another like rebranding. There was a TV show a few years ago.
Hmm.
What a franchise. But The
I
Muppet Christmas Carol is a perfect movie.
I watched Muppet Christmas Carol when I was at PAX Unplugged in Philadelphia back in November. Well, I was just there by myself, so I'm like in my
Yeah.
Airbnb, like, so I just watched it, and such a good
Yeah.
movie. Like
It's
I get why people
Yep.
say that's the best version of A Christmas Carol. Like
yeah.
I'm all in on it. It's so good.
So
Oh
you get a
yeah.
hot, fresh answer that I haven't provided.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, no, that's a must watch every Christmas around my
It
house.
is.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Some Christmas movies, I don't know, it's fine. But that movie, it's just, it checks all the boxes. So it's a
Mhm.
great movie.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, tell everybody where they can find you so they can listen to your excellent the fruits of your labor.
Yeah. Well, we're on all your podcasting platforms, just Hakuna Lorcana. We're now on YouTube. Katie's doing a great job with the videos there. So Hakuna Lorcana pod. Katie, I
Just
don't
our
ever know
Kugler
which.
Kana.
Yeah,
You
just
know,
search
I'll get
Hakuna
better. You'll find
Lorcana.
us. Yeah.
Yeah,
We have a
just look
link
for the
tree.
orange. We
Yeah.
do have a link tree. Yeah, that's
Ah,
in
that's true. Yeah, yeah.
so it's all up in there. Just look for the orange logo. And then yeah, we're on social media. Both Katie and myself are on Twitter. I kind of am the podcast page on Twitter, just Hakuna Lorcana. Katie can introduce herself, and she also does Instagram, so I'll let her talk about herself.
Yeah. So we're on Instagram. It's more fun, I think, on Twitter because Instagram's not a great communicating platform,
Hmm.
but I do update there. And then I'm also on Twitter at Hakuna Lorcana Katie, probably.
KT, yeah, like the
Yeah,
letters
we'll
KT,
get
I
better
think.
at
Yeah,
this, but you'll find us. I think if you find one, it'll all lead. It'll be like a treasure hunt to find our other places.
yeah,
But yeah, subscribe and we'll tell you facts and you'll be better at trivia night. I think Jake was saying that like
yes,
he does trivia and so yeah, we can help you slowly,
Nice.
not very fast, but over time.
Well, thank you guys for all the work that you put in on the podcast. It's a great show. I love it. And like I said before, highly suggest if you're watching this and you don't listen, go grab the episodes, binge them before the next, Friday episode comes out, which at the time is tomorrow. So you better get
Mhm.
busy.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
but yeah, thank you guys so much for everything that y'all do for the community and for the game. And I look forward to many more episodes in the future.
well, thank you for having us.
yeah. Thanks so much, Chris. This was a pleasure to be on, and yeah, hopefully we'll get to see you at a DLC or
Mhm.
around. I really would love to meet other content creators and whatnot. So
Yeah, cool. I look forward to it.
yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, y'all. And I will see you around the community.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more great interviews with members of the Lorcana community. See you next time.